Rob, thanks for taking time. I know you've been a busy man today, facilitating our day and helping guide everyone's energy, including our own energies, right? It's been quite an emotional day. Can you frame up what today is in your words?
Yeah, well, today was about hearing other people's stories, where they come from, where they feel they sit in New Zealand. And, it was a mix between Pacific and Maori and, getting to understand how we can build stronger relationships with, as a Pacific nation with Maori. So it's been a very thought-provoking deep dive into, things like, the Treaty of Waitangi. I've learned a lot about that. So, I think it's been really, really exciting.
Wanted to ask if you could talk a bit about the hackathon and I guess the mahi that we're attempting to do there.
Sure. So the hackathon was pretty much focusing on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Some of the social justices that Pacific people were facing in New Zealand. Some of the identity crises that are we Pacific, are we Samoan, are we Aotearoa, are we New Zealand? So the hackathon was focusing primarily about going back to grassroots, and those grassroots was the cultural induction. I was born in West Auckland, where the hapu is, who is my iwi, things like that, which I really didn't have much thought about it, being Samoan, thinking I was, I'm Samoan, New Zealander. So the hackathon was all about bringing me back to understanding that, we, under the treaty, we're settlers, and that the Maori, have embraced us as part of their culture. So, the old adage, do what the Romans do, when in Rome, do what the Romans do. So, that's never been something that, just because I'm living in New Zealand, why should I do what Maori does? But, I'm actually learning a lot more about that. So the hackathon is bringing all that into perspective and to build solutions around, teaching the next generation how important that document is to us. Because it's important to Maori, but it's also important to our non-Maori, and that's what the importance of that document is, but also understanding that we also bring value to New Zealand, and that's been one of the highlights here in the hackathons. It's bringing those, finding solutions for the next generation, as our generation moving away from that, moving out. Setting up a foundation for them and taking them back to grassroots.
And obviously we're still in the day. People are still having these active kōrero. But can you talk about some of the insights raised and brainstormed and I guess some of the things that even surprised you?
Yeah. So, there was a great thing that there was a great quote that was said today, which was that, if you're not at the table, then you're part of the menu. And, that sort of resonated with me where, when organizations come to deal with, the Pacific communities, a question that should be going through our mind now is, are we at the table or are we on the menu? So, and by doing that, it sort of sets the scene. And, that was an eye-opener for me. I'd never heard of that saying, but now it makes sense. And so, it's just like the things that a lot of the, especially with Manu, he was here today, the amazing insight he has. It's interesting about Manu because he's Samoan and Māori, and he speaks, te reo, and he understands. It's funny because you don't know whether he's a Māori or Samoan, but you can relate to him really well. And so, it was really good to hear some of the things that he's doing out there and trying to, teach people that when you're dealing with Māori, you got to do your research. You got to update, because they are different tribes. And so, when you think, I thought the hongi was just a simple, touching of the nose. But if you go to different iwi or different mana whenua, they slightly do it slightly different, you know. So I didn't realize that actually exists. I didn't know that. So there's a lot, there's quite a lot of things that I learned today. It was pretty cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And just finally, what do you hope some of the outcomes are? You know, if we put our hope and optimism into that, when we come together, we find solutions. What's a best case scenario here?
Well, my hope is in 100 years that, when people ask me, how do you welcome or greet people, the hongi is the greeting mechanism that we use. That's one of my hopes in 100 years, and that, we take karakia as we always open with that. Whether it's just a Pacific round table or if it's a Pākehā, or we karakia is our culture. So that's part of my hope. The other hope is that we move as one people. Where one of the guys said Ngāti Pākehā, which meant non-Māori. There's a little bit more definition to it, but that we are Ngāti Pākehā, but we also have our that we understand where our mana whenua is if we're living in a certain part of Auckland or New Zealand, and that we can walk around and Māori will identify us, we're Ngāti Pākehā, and we've got a place here in New Zealand. So that's that. The other thing is that, building it out, we have to start somewhere. So we're building some solutions based around introducing things like the Treaty of Waitangi, culture induction, and teaching and asking corporates to make that as a requirement as part of their induction to their business culture, and changing that culture, because I can see them. That's the future. And those guys, those new employees are going to move into becoming the CEOs of those companies, and they'll remember that they've built an inclusive culture in those companies, and wherever they go, they're gonna carry that on. So that's
awesome.
That's my hopes as well.
Well, man, I just want to say thank you, because you pretty much single-handedly organised this whole thing and drove it, and the conversation is thriving. So on behalf of all of us who want to be here and actually need to be here, because we're trying to find systems to help us reconnect and integrate properly, just want to take my hat off and say thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. There is a few that some of the team that helped. But thank you so much, Will, for being here today. Thanks to the team, Charlie and Stevie, and even Kim, who wasn't here today, and especially Jason, who actually was here today, and he's been amazing. So, and also the participants that came today. So, thank you. Awesome. Thank you for having us.